Hi there, my name is Mike Pascal, and I want to talk to you a little bit today about real estate and why real estate. A lot of times I see people in life that are always looking for that magic pill or that magic thing that would take them, that they can make a few bucks, and they chase selling vitamins and weight loss programs, and they get a paper route, and they do crazy things. And the nice thing about real estate is it can take you from broke to thousands of dollars overnight. In fact, I never forget back when I first started, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have any experience to speak of, but with the confidence that goes with ignorance, I jumped in. And I want to talk to you today about the possibility of going from broke to, say, $25,000 in your bank account within 90 days. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's not really any money. Well, I'm not saying it's filthy rich, but if you're a person that's just starting off, think about it. If you could make $10, $15, $25,000 in the next 90 days, I mean, think right now in your head, what month are we in? 90 days later, if you had $25,000 in your bank account, how much interest would you have in that? And then I want to talk to you about making over $100,000 a year, even if it's just part-time. Now, to some people, $100,000 a year would be a big pay cut. But I know from my background, where I came from, we almost dreamed that if we could get to 50,000 and 60,000, and we knew the boss was making 100,000, but he was working night and day in the company. And the nicest thing about real estate, why real estate? It's got some of the best profit margins. You see, I tried selling cars one time, and you sell a car, you fix it up, and you sell it, you make $500, or maybe you get it really looking super nice, and you make $800 or $1,000 flipping the car. That's not exciting, because $1,000 just is not what it used to be. It doesn't last real long. But the nice thing about real estate is the margins are really, really good. And we're going to talk to you about setting up systems and stuff. Real estate investing, like any business, if it's set up and structured in systems, then all of a sudden it works and it becomes a fluid business, which just kind of flows whether you're there or not. Now, if you set it up wrong, where you're the one out doing drywall, hanging your own drywall, then you're finishing your own drywall, then you're painting it, then you're installing the toilet, and you're putting on the shingles, and you're doing these things, the excitement is just not there, because all you really did, if you're doing real estate that way, which is the way I started off, which is the way a lot of people started off, is you really simply replaced your current job with a new job. Maybe if you're doing this part-time and you've added a job. Well, I find that most people don't really want a job. They want the income that it gets from it. But what type of real estate would I recommend? Single-family houses. Single-family houses, in my experience, offer the potential of the greatest possible, highest paying rate of return on your money. I mean, where else can you lay out a few $1,000s, apply some leverage, take over a house, and next thing you know, you're making, you lay out $5,000, and you've got an asset that's bringing in $500 a month or $600 a month, and it just goes on and on. In fact, I can think of a house, a hedge fund company, I got a hold of them, and they had a house that they wanted to sell the mortgage note on. Now, you may be thinking, what's a note? Well, I talk about that in my book, Starting Broke, but I bought a mortgage note, which is when people apply for a mortgage, you sign a promise to pay, which is a promissory note, and the people had defaulted. The bank had taken it back, and this house was in Toledo, Ohio, the vacation capital of the world, I know, but the hedge fund was in California, and they just didn't want to mess with it. And they said, well, make us an offer. And I said, well, I really don't want that house. We went back and forth, and they kept saying, offer us anything. And so, being the smart, like, cocky guy that I am, I think if I recall, I said, well, I'll give you $5,000. They said, $5,000? We can't take that. Are you stupid? Are you crazy? We're just not going to take no $5,000. And I said, well, I don't blame you. Thank you. Well, a couple, 2 or 3 weeks later, they got back with me, and I think if I recall, they said, would you go $6,500? And I thought, huh. This was a house that's worth somewhere, now I'm in Ohio, again, the Midwest, but the house should sell for somewhere around $65,000 to $75,000, depending on condition. And they offered me the house, the mortgage note, for $6,500. Roughly, what is that, 10 cents on the dollar. Well, to make a long story short, I ended up buying the house. I rented it out. I bring in, I think on that one, I bring in since 2007, I've been bringing in roughly $700 a month. Let's see, $700 a month for a year is about $8,400. So after a year, I was even. Now, 2007, at the time of this recording, has been over 10 years. Let's do some simple math just to keep it easy. You got to understand I'm from Ohio, so I want to make it easy, right? And If I make $7,000 a year after taxes and insurance, I know I'm bringing in $8,400, but let's say taxes and insurance take a little bit, and I make $7,000 a year times 10 years. Let's see, I brought in $70,000 and I paid how much? $6,500. What type of rate of return is that? I don't know, 1,000%? I mean, show me another business. I mean, you might sell Tupperware on the side, or vitamin tablets, or weight loss programs, or different opportunities. I had a buddy one time, he's always coming around, he's showing me these ground floor opportunities, and he got a little mad at me because I said, well, if there's such ground floor opportunities, why are you always on the ground? But anyways, he didn't think that was funny. But we believe that single family houses, I have a program set up where we can show people ways of, with very little, sometimes no money, but sometimes a little bit of money has to come out, where we acquire a property, we put it under contract, we take it to closing, we make everybody happy. We win when we buy it, the seller wins when they get rid of it, and we go the whole thing through. Let me tell you about a quick house. I did a specialized mailing. This is one of the things we teach people. We did a specialized mailing, and we did this one over here in a nearby city called Fort Wayne, Indiana. And when I say specialized mailing, this is one of the things I teach, but I sent out a bunch of postcards, and a couple things I made sure of. First of all, I bought a list of people that had a minimum of 30% equity in their house. What does that mean? For round off numbers, if the house is worth $100,000, they've got at least $30,000 of it paid off. They don't owe any more than $70,000. Why did I do that? Well, I hope the equity is higher, but if they have at least 30% equity, if I make them an offer that's lower than they'd like to get, but they take it, they can. Then I also made sure when I did it that they were absentee owners. What is that? That's somebody who owns a house, but they don't necessarily live there. Could be inherited, could be a landlord that just, he's tired of it. It's something he's been renting out. He may be taking care of the house for his grandmother. It might be a probate, different things. But anyways, it was an absentee owner. In other words, the owner doesn't live there. Another thing that I did is I made sure that they had owned the house for at least 5 years. Now you might be thinking, well, who cares if they just bought the house? Well, if they just bought the house, here's what happens a lot of time. The honeymoon's still on. They're still excited about the house. They still got the hopes and dreams that I'm going to paint, I'm going to carpet, I'm going to put shrubs in, and I'm going to build a room on it, I'm going to do a pool, and I'm going to do all the neat things. And then life happens, right? And as life goes on, all of a sudden, a year, 2, 3, year 4, year 5, and all of a sudden it's just become a house. They no longer want to even clean the thing, let alone paint the kitchen and build the room on it and do the fancy things. So I sent out this list. Well, I had a girl call me up. I was on Alexander Street in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and she said, yeah, you sent me a postcard about buying my house. I want to sell it. And I said, okay, and I talked to her a little bit. I'm like, what's the reason you're selling? And she said, well, I've got this guy in this house, and he just will not pay. I said, how long has it been since he paid you? She was selling it on a contract, like a land contract or contract for deed, whatever you want to call it. And she said, well, he's over a year behind and I don't know what to do. He said, he just makes me promises and says, I'll send you in a payment. I'll catch up. I promise I'm going to. But over the last year, he's still 12 months behind and I don't know what to do. Well, see, now she has an emotional attachment. One of her problems is she's just too kind. Well, I want to be kind, but at the same time, I don't want to be stupid. So I don't have the problem with being too kind to somebody who's trying to take advantage of me. I figure they're not doing it by accident. They're doing it on purpose. And I said, well, let's meet up and let's talk about the house. So I met her at the house. That's not true. Let me back to the story. I did a drive-by, looked at the property. She had a tenant named Bill who was still living in the house. And so I met her and her husband at a McDonald's restaurant, actually. And we met there and we got to talk a little bit. And I said, what'd you pay for it? And I'd already looked it up on the county website. And to make a long story short, Alexander Street's in kind of a so-so area. It's not horrible, it's not war zone, but it's definitely not a high-end area. And the house probably had enough after repair value, ARV they call it, of somewhere around $45,000 to $50,000. And I said, well, in current condition with Bill, if I take the risk and I'm willing to go through all that kind of thing, tell you what I'll do. We did a little haggling. I said, I'll offer you $10,000. She said, $10,000? I can't take a dime less than $20,000. Well, as soon as I said offer 10, she said at 20, we don't have to worry about the 50. I've already got her down that far. But I said, well, here's what might happen. If you decide to not sell me the house, you're going to have to deal with lawyers, court, taking Bill back and forth, and Bill's going to have the burden of proof, and you got to jump through hoops. And then if you when you finally do get the house, hard telling what the condition is inside. And then when you list it with a realtor, you're going to pay 6 or 7% into a realtor for commissions, and then you're going to have another 5, 10, maybe percent of your money is going to go back into the house in perhaps drywall or fixing holes in the wall, or who knows what tenants can do to, the carpeting, the flooring's bad. And I said a lot of times the average person loses somewhere between, after commissions and closing costs and inspections and things, they lose somewhere between 12 to 15% of the value of the house right off the bat, even when you sell it. And then if they do the inspection, they may not even appraise. To make a long story real short, I got the house under contract for $10,000. So now let's follow me on this story. I said, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pay cash and I'm going to close on this house. But my customary time, it's going to be 90 days or sooner. If I can deal with Bill and get him out sooner, but I may need a little time to close because Bill's in the house. So she said, that sounds fair enough. And so I went ahead and gave her my customary down payment down of $10, because you see, for a contract to be legal, money has to exchange hands. Now you may be thinking, $10, $10? Yep, that's what I gave her down. So what was my whole risk here? My contract plainly stated that if I defaulted on my contract, she got to keep my entire earnest money deposit. Which was how much? Oh yeah, $10. Pretty good risk, huh? I figured I could probably sleep at night with that type of risk. So to make a long story real short, I went on and stopped and visited the tenant. I knocked at the door. I said, hi, my name is Mike. What's your name? And he said, Bill. She'd already told me that. And I said, Bill, I bought the contract on your house. So now you don't owe this young lady the money. You owe my company the money. He said, what? I was going to catch her up. I said, well, you're no longer dealing with her. So here's what we're going to do. We're getting ready to take you to court. Just want to give you the heads up. Bill, I hate this part of the business, but I've never lost in court. You see, you're in breach of contract. Well, I paid her. I said, do you have proof? And, well, I'll find it. I said, well, here's the deal. If you don't find it, Bill, we're still going to file, and you're going to have an eviction on your record, and it could be a foreclosure, depending on how the judge views the paperwork. And we're going to go all the way through this thing. So I said, Bill, or I hate this part of it, trying to put somebody out of their home, but here's what I am willing to do for you, Bill. I think I could probably talk to boss into getting you somewhere between, say, $500 to $1,000 moving money if you'll leave it broom clean. That way you can leave with dignity, you can leave with decency, you'll be able to move on your own terms, and you just won't have to put up with going to court and having it on your record. And Bill said, I'm not doing it. Could I get $1,400? Now, see, when Bill said, could I get $1,400, Bill blinked, didn't he? Bill was like, if I could have $1,400, I could move. I said, well, Bill, and I didn't say this, but I was thinking, I got him. I knew when he gave me $1 out, he agreed to do it. So I said, Bill, tell you what I'm going to do. I'll talk to the boss. Now, one of the reasons we keep a property titled in an LLC or a limited liability company is, here's what's good about that. When they look it up, they don't know whether the company is one person, whether the company is 892 people. All they know is there's a corporation or a company owns the house. And so I use that to my advantage. I said, Bill, let me get back with you. Here's my phone number. Give me your cell phone number. We exchange numbers. I called him back the next day. I said, Bill, I got kind of good news. I can't get you the $1,400, but I can get you $1,000. And Bill paused and he said, when would I get it? I said, how long would you need to leave the place broom clean? Bill said, well, today, I forgot what day it was. He said, a week after, on the Saturday after next, I'll meet you here. I'll have a broom clean. I said, that sounds fair enough. We met a week and a half or 2 weeks later. I wrote him a check for $1,000. Now that was my gamble, you understand, because I've already got $10 in the house that I haven't closed on. But I got there, I did a quick walkthrough, and Bill kept his word, had the place basically broom clean. He did get me in one area. After he left, we shook hands. I was walking through my property, all excited about my potential purchase. I went out and checked the garage, and Bill had stuck all the junk and all the trash in the house in the garage. Well, I figured I could probably deal with that. I immediately listed the house with a realtor. I said, Kathy, what do you think this thing would sell for? She said it should sell for $50,000, but tell you what, Mike, it needs a little fresh paint. The carpet's not so good. Why don't we list it for $35,000, $34,900, and we'll just see what we get. Well, I think we listed a little bit too low, but before she showed it, she said, can you do anything to make it look better? I said, I'll paint the kitchen. I took the next day, I painted the kitchen ceiling and the kitchen paint, and I went through there. Made it look good. I worked my tail off. I mean, I probably put in a good 4 hours, maybe 5. I mean, I busted my tail painting the kitchen. She listed it. We got an all cash offer, same day, 2 weeks to close. To make a long story short, on that house, I called the seller And I said, got good news. We're not going to need 90 days. When can you close? We got them to a closing. I got my buyer in a closing. So at the closing title company, I was a little excited. Makes your heart beat a little fast, because in one room, I have my buyer. In another closing room, I have my seller. I'm in the middle. They said hello to the other people, smiled and waved. Didn't dawn on them that they were both buying and selling the same property. I was in the middle, and you know what's cool about that house? It's called a double closing, or a simultaneous closing. I used my new buyer's money to fund it. Yes, I've had people say, that's illegal. You can't do that. Well, I know, bumblebees can't fly, but they don't know it, so they do fly. I found the title company that said, yes, you can do it, and I have the specific code on how to do it. But to make a long story short, I bought the house with my new buyer's money, and I netted, you ready for this? $21,700 and some dollars change. $21,700 for working 4 hours and knowing what to do. Now, I got to thinking, I used to have a lot of jobs. I got paid by the hour. I cleaned cars. I detailed places. I did some construction. I sold vacuum cleaners door to door. I never had a day where I worked 4 hours and made $21,700. How many of you would like to make $21,700? Sounds pretty good, doesn't it? You see, in our business, the greatest thing about real estate is just the potential, the opportunity. I just love it, I guess. I don't know how to describe it. And I truly believe that I can take almost anybody. If you're hungry, driven, and reasonably smart. You know, I don't want no geniuses, because it's like the engineers. They don't ask you how much can I sit out in the chair. They say how many bolts and screws are in the chair and what's the load capacity for my big butt. Well, I don't care. I just sit in the chair. But I will tell you this. If you're hungry, driven, and smart, I believe I can take almost anybody, and I can teach you to succeed and prosper in just about anywhere. I mean, now don't get me wrong. It probably won't work where you live. Okay, that's not true. It will. In fact, I believe I could parachute in there with what I know, come back and see me in 60 days, 90 days, 30 days maybe, and I'll have some money in my pocket. In fact, in 30 days, I ought to be able to pick up 3,000 to 5,000 just wholesale with our programs. You see, we're going to show people how to raise money, where we get the money from, and not using your own money, not using your own credit, how to do this business. So I want to thank you for watching this video. If you're interested, go ahead and click below. We've got some other good stuff coming. Thanks.